So one of the things that I wanted to point out about this hard drive that Whack 100 had talked about was the hat situation. Drake wanting to purchase a hat. Now, when Whack 100 had brought up this hard drive, he never said what he had on it. All he said was whatever he has on it, he's using it to protect Drake. But Adam 22 comes around, says that he has a conversation with Drake, and says that Drake insinuated that it was about him purchasing a hat. Drake telling on himself in this case. Now, a hat, take it for what you will, replace the A for another letter, and that's what we're talking about. Drake wanted to purchase a hat, and that's what he was guessing that Whack 100 had on him.
Did his due diligence, found out what it supposedly was. He doesn't seem worried at all about it.
Yeah.
But the accusation was that basically Whack had evidence of Drake ordering in a hat.
Trying to get a hat or two of them.
He was on the Lids online store trying to get a hat.
Yeah.
And Drake's question for me was just basically like, what was the plan there? What does a street dude do? Even if Whack did have that.
His exact words was, what was he going to turn it over? Because what else can you do?
But remember, when Whack brought this up, he never mentioned a hat. He never said anything. All he said was stay away from top 5. You bring up this hard drive, you bring up top 5 and Drake, and you specifically say, I'm doing this to protect you, stay away from top 5. And with only that being said, Drake immediately thought it was about purchasing a hat. That's Drake taking an estimated guess of what it could be about, and also in a way telling on himself. Now, a lot of people have had a lot of theories about this situation. They want to know, why did Drake talk about purchasing a hat when nothing about that was said at all? Obviously, we know that Top 5 was arrested following this investigation, and we know that Whack 100 was telling Drake to stay away from Top 5. Was that enough information for Drake to make a guess what was in that hard drive? And it made me think, could this arrest be the reason why Drake is so concerned about the hard drive? Now, let me remind you, it's not the hard drive, or it's not Whack 100's fault that Top 5 was arrested. It's actually his issues going live with academics and him sharing too much information when he goes on live with academics. Now, following this arrest, they had said on the news that Top 5 was talking about how he was able to get a phone in prison, food in prison, and pay off the security guards. He admitted all of that on academic stream, which caused this investigation to flourish in the first place. Now, Adam 22 says that Drake is not worried, but could that just be cap? Because Top 5 is arrested for charges, and Whack 100 is flashing this hard drive. And after these two things happen, you reach out to Adam 22 and ask him, what about the flash drive? What's on the hard drive? And then you point out, could it be about me purchasing a hat? One of the theories out there about purchasing the hat, saying that it could be in regards to Kendrick Lamar. And we know about Whacked Out Murals. When Kendrick had made Whacked Out Murals, he had said something about Bitcoin. You know, Drake is really big on Bitcoin. And right here it says, people from the city couldn't entertain old boy, talking about Drake, promising bank transactions and even Bitcoin. I'll never piece it up. That ish don't sit well with me. Before I take a truce, I'll take them to hell with me. So this is Kendrick in the recent album that he had just dropped, GNX, where he's talking about somebody promising bank transactions and even Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. If that money got in the hands of a crash dummy, it could jeopardize my family and burden the ones who love me. This is definitely Kendrick being aware that somebody is putting money out on the streets to come and get at him and jeopardize him and his family's well-being. Now, when Adam 22 is talking about this hat, could it be the situation with Kendrick Lamar and what he's talking about in Whacked Out Murals? So it had a lot of people thinking, was this conversation about a hat that Drake brought up himself? Is it the same thing that Kendrick is talking about in Whacked Out Murals? And we can't forget about the time with Pusha T, where Pusha T claims that Drake has a 100K bounty for dirt on him. Now, this is another thing that people have pointed out, that Drake was known even back in 2018, that he was able to put money out on the streets to find information out about Pusha T. So he has a history of doing this even in the past, even back in 2018. All these accusations don't really help out Drake's case, considering that there's artists out here saying that he has put money out in the streets to get some type of info, or even worse than what Kendrick said in this album, try to jeopardize him and his family. And it doesn't help when you bring up the XXXTentacion situation that everybody is always talking about revolving around Drake, the theories about X and Drake. The theories and cryptic messages that come out in Drake's songs when he says, shot him in the daylight, shot him in the daylight. And this sparked a lot of conversation because X has a song called Moonlight. So people are already theorizing. Lawyers are even looking into Drake, as we know from the trial. Regarding one of the people that were involved in the case, you have the lawyer trying to bring Drake in court for the situation, and it's still an ongoing and developing story. So a lot of people are looking at that situation. A lot of people are looking at the situation that happened with Pusha T and the lyrics that were shared in Whacked Out murals, where Kendrick had talked about putting money in the streets, paying people in Bitcoin, finding a crash dummy that could jeopardize him and his family. These are all things that make people assume that when he's talking about the hat situation, he could be talking about Kendrick Lamar. And in the clip, Adam 22 says that Drake is not worried, but if he wasn't worried, he wouldn't have called you. I think that was something that Wack 100 had said. Like, I've never seen somebody as popular as Drake reach out to somebody like Adam 22 and ask questions about a hard drive. If you weren't worried about it, you wouldn't be calling Adam 22 and asking him what it was about. And it is still strange to me that Drake would even ask that in the first place. If it's something that personal, why would you go and ask somebody that has a podcast that will be willing to share this information when he goes live the next time he's at his show? Now, of course, what Drake says after the fact is what started a lot of conflict between him and Wack 100, saying, what are you going to do with that information anyways? What would a street guy like you do with that? Implying that is Wack 100 going to snitch on him? And I think that's the conflict that started the models conversation later on. But one of the key topics in this conversation with this hard drive is the hat situation. Now, could Drake be worried about this hard drive because it talks about him purchasing a hat, maybe purchasing it in crypto, maybe purchasing it in Bitcoin? How much money is this hat? And what type of hat were you trying to make? Was it for information? Was it for something else? All I know is that this hard drive got Drake, at least in the words of Adam 22, concerned and had him wanting to pry for more information. I'm not sure if Wack 100 will ever reveal what's in this hard drive, but if what Adam 22 said is true and Drake was talking about a hat, it looks like he is worried about the situation, because why would you ask about that in the first place? But y'all tell me how you feel about this. Y'all tell me how you feel about the hat situation, Wack, Adam, Drake, hard drive, all that. And let me know, man. Get back to me, man. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace. Keep it alleged.